I have to begin by making the observation that though Brenda, of course, was not Jewish, there is no more appropriate place for this service than here in this building, which she was so much a part of for so many years, and the people to whom she was so devoted throughout her years in the senior rabbi's office. We're here, of course, because death has taken our beloved Brenda. We, her friends close like family, grieve because she has been taken from us. Our silence reflects our lamentation, our tears a prism of our loneliness. And so we reach out to one another and hope that we find the presence of one another comforting. And of course, O God, we know that you will be with us as well. And so at this time we give thanks for the many special things in Brenda's life, for her love, strong, beautiful love that united all of us in life and which death cannot sever, for her companionship on what I believe is too short a path, but which continues now in the tenderness of memory, and for the wonderful gifts of her heart and her mind and her spirit that brought so much joy and so much happiness during her lifetime and remain now as a precious, precious remembrance. For all this, O God, and more, we offer you thanks. I don't think there are words written that have ever been more recited in time of sadness at death than the magnificent words of King David's 23rd Psalm. We pray them now, asking for comfort. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and when it's going down, Brenda, we will remember you. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember you. In the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember you. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember you. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember you. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember you. And for me, and I'm sure for all of you, when we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember you. For so long as we live. You too live, Brenda. You live because you are a part of us, especially in those beautiful moments when we remember you, when we are thinking of you. There's a lot of material written for funeral services. There are 3 that I would like to read, each one of which could be Brenda's epitaph. The first one you all know very well, and I know you will agree it's Brenda. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known and loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And these two poems that I really think reflect what Brenda would have us remember of her. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. And third, you can shed tears that I am gone, or you can smile because I've lived. You can close your eyes and pray that I will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that I have left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see me, or you can be full of the love that we share. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember me and only that I am gone, or you can cherish my memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what I would want. Smile. Open your eyes, love, and to go on. I'm going to ask Noel Foreman to come up now. She would like to share a few words with us.
Today, a piece of my heart is missing. My beloved friend, Brenda Nasser, has crossed over. She is now free of pain and suffering. I had the blessing of spending time with her over these last months. There were good days. There were bad days. We laughed and cried together. Whenever I would leave and say, "I love you," she would reply with, "I love you more." After Brenda died, Heidi took the ring off her finger and gave it to me. Thank you, Heidi. A ring is a circle with no beginning or ending. My ring now is Brenda. There was no beginning or ending of her love of this congregation, its staff, housekeepers, custodians, or whatever job someone might have had. She loved equally. She called them her people. No one will ever know what she did alone and with Rabbi Walter to help, aid, and assist anyone in need. And now, a few words from Wordsworth's poem, Intimations of Immortality. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life star, hath elsewhere its setting, and cometh from afar. Not in other nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home.
In the opening of Romeo and Juliet, we learn before the play even begins that the couple are star-crossed lovers. The premise of the statement, of course, is the belief in astrology, that the movement of the stars and the planets governs what happens on Earth. For all her intelligence and sophistication, Brenda believed in astrology. How do I know? Because when I interviewed Brenda to be my secretary, she asked not just for the date, but the time of my birth. I gave it to her and asked why. She informed me that she would never go to work for someone unless that person's sign and her sign were in concert. I subsequently learned that she went first to Linda Goodman's sun signs to read up on Geminis. She then had I'm not sure what you call it, a rendering or a profile done on someone born June 7th, 1942 at 3:15 p.m. She had to be sure we were not star-crossed. At the time I interviewed Brenda, she was working for a rabbi in Florida. She let me know that she would not be available for 6 months. So I told her I had no choice but to make the offer to someone available immediately, but would let her know that if things didn't work out, I would get back to her. Well, sure enough, the secretary I hired did not last very long. And I felt so good about my interview with Brenda that I decided it would be worth the wait. And so I called Brenda and offered her the job. Here's the conversation. Brenda, this is Rabbi Walter in Houston. The secretary I hired didn't work out, and if you're still interested in the job, I'd like to offer it to you. Her answer, I knew you'd call. And yes, I would like the job. You knew I would call? How did you know I would call? Well, I checked out the birth date and time of the secretary's birth. And you were definitely not a match. You and I are perfectly compatible. In fact, I believe it was inevitable that you would call me. And oh my, did she turn out to be right. We were perfectly compatible. The roughly 20 years we were together, we were as star-aligned as we could be, and she constantly reminded me of it. Every once in a while, she would alert me that Mercury was about to go into retrograde, so that things at the temple might get a little rough for a while. And more times than I care to admit, her reading the stars was right on target. And if I may add just one little more insight that may not have meaning to you, but would to her, the number 7 must have some power here. Because I was born June 7th. Brenda died June 27th. And today is the 7th of July. I know Brenda would believe in that, so for her sake, I have to note it. I also know that I don't have to describe Brenda to this group of people. Her intelligence, her warmth, her competence, her caring. No one ever came into her office without feeling welcome and appreciated. It didn't matter if you were a person deemed important by station or one of what she called her poor, sad souls. The people that we supported through the Rabbi's Good Works Fund and the Caring Congregation Committee were greeted the same. One of the most important things people don't realize about a rabbi's secretary, and by the way, she did not like administrative assistant. She liked secretary. A rabbi's secretary has 2 jobs. One is the running of the senior rabbi's office. The other is seeing that the things the senior rabbi needs specifically are taken care of. Brenda was outstanding at both. I sometimes even teased her that Monday was her favorite day because I wasn't there to interrupt her every few minutes and she got to do the work she needed to do. She was efficient and she was skilled. Notices that needed to go out on a scheduled basis were always on time. Phone calls she needed to make were always effective. And the 2 jewels of her life at this temple, the Good Works Fund because it was there to help people, and the Caring Congregation Committee, which was there to help people, these were the most important things to her. She knew which people really needed help and which were there to take advantage of the fund's generosity. She was somehow at the same time very strict and very kind in her reports to me about what was going on. And when it came to me personally, no one could have been more supportive or protective. She made sure that I was free of as many details as possible so that I could spend as little time administrating and as much time rabbiing as possible. When people had issues, she knew instinctively which ones required my attention and which ones she could take care of. So many of the notes that I sent out and the phone calls I made were because she slipped me a little note reminding me that they needed to be done. And how many times did I hear her say on the phone, "Rabbi Walter asked me to reach out to you and take care of this," about an issue I did not even know existed until after she had handled it. On top, of course, of our professional relationship was our personal one. Now, you need to know that Brenda was always very careful to keep her professional life and her personal life apart. We never went to lunch. We never went to dinner. The most she would allow was an exchange of birthday or holiday gifts, but that was it. On the other hand, she loved me and my children and my wife as though we were her own. The day Brenda died, I had to do 3 of the most difficult things I've had to do in my life: to call my children and tell them. In some ways, it was harder telling them that she died than saying goodbye to her, because I knew how much suffering she was in. The obituary that Heidi wrote for her mother reads in part, Brenda had an enormous and generous heart, both emotionally and financially. She never hesitated to help someone in need whenever possible. Her purpose in life truly was to help others. She added, Brenda loved working at Emanu and was in turn loved back by all who met her. She truly considered the clergy, congregants, and employees of Emanu as her family. You may think that last statement was overstated, but it wasn't. Apart from Brenda's non-Emmanuel friend, Lady, her neighbor who was so good to her, if you look at the list of people who were there with and for Brenda in these last months, every single one was an Emmanuel person in some way. Remember, she not only considered us family, we consider her family as well. You will probably recognize every one of the names of these people who loved her and were there with her through her illness to the end. Former employees, Myra Lipper, Nancy Wolf, Jennifer LaCour, and Victor Woodward. Current employee, Stephanie Kamenian. Members, Shel Vedlitz, and especially Harris Miller, Noel Foreman, and Barbara Bruckner and Diana Brackman. These are the people, the Emmanuel people, who gathered around our family Brenda during these difficult moments, visited her, brought her cards, helped take her to the doctor. After all, this is what family does for family. And every one of us did it with the same love for her that she had for us. Brenda did have blood family, though, who took charge to see that her mother was taken care of, and that's Heidi and her husband, Jerry. Frankly, Brenda didn't make it easy on her, not because of mean-spiritedness, but because of the particular kind of memory loss that Brenda suffered. She would forget that Heidi had just been there the day before and chastise her for not coming. She didn't want to be where she was. She wanted to go home, though she could not possibly have lived alone, and was often combative with Heidi about it. But with Jerry's support, Heidi, you stayed the course. You hung in there and made sure that she was well taken care of. I, of all people, know how hard that was. And I, of all people, know how diligently and lovingly you took care of her. From all of us who are part of your mother's Emmanuel family, thank you for seeing she was so well taken care of. And thank you to the people of the villages of Meyerland who also took amazing care of her. When Brenda went to the villages, initially I was there almost every day, hoping to help her make the transition. Didn't happen. But with the passage of time and her bit of adjustment, because she was never content to go home, I continued to visit 2 or 3 times a week, and then had to cut back to once a week. You see, she would be fine, but the minute I walked in the door, she would start crying. See, Brenda and I made a promise to each other when we first began our relationship that we would always be honest with each other. She often hid her feelings from others, but never from me. We remained star-aligned to the very end, as you're about to see. The last time that I saw Brenda alert was the Saturday before she died. She was in a lot of pain. The cancer had spread, and the doctor indicated that there was no point in putting her through any more treatment. Despite her pain, we actually had a pretty good visit, and we ended, as we always did, with a kiss and an I love you. 2 or 3 days later, Brenda slipped into a coma. That day, I came down with a terrible case of the flu, so there was no way I could visit. During the next 3 or 4 days, Virtually every one of the people that I mentioned a moment ago, including Heidi, was able to go by and tell her how much they love her and give her permission to let go when she was ready. But the week passed, and nothing happened. She remained in her coma. The doctor may not have a medical reason for why she hung on, but I do. There was no way Brenda was leaving this earth until I got there. Finally, Saturday, I felt well enough to teach my class. And when I finished, I went to the villages. She was not conscious, though I believe, as most doctors suggest, that people in comas can still hear and perceive. I bent down. I hugged her and kissed her. I told her how much I love her, how much she meant to me, how much better a person and a rabbi I was because of her. Let her know that Heidi and Sherry would be okay, and that I would, of course, stay in touch with them. I told her the gates of heaven would be open when she got there, and told her to let go when she was ready, that God was waiting for her. 4 hours later, Heidi called me. Brenda was gone. She waited for me to get there. If there is such a thing as wireless internet, then there has to be such a thing as people being wirelessly connected mentally and emotionally. Brenda and I were. She knew I would get there when I could, and she waited. That's how connected we were. I know I speak for everyone here. And for so many not here, but whose life on which she had such a powerful and important effect. Brenda Nasser, you were a blessing to each of us and to all of us. Your life and your spirit and your contributions in here, in this temple which you loved so much and which you devoted yourself to. We are better for having had you, and we are lesser for losing you. And so again, in the words of Shakespeare, good night, my sweet Brenda. And flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Amen. Would you all rise, please? Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Brenda Nasser, who has entered into eternity. Oh God, may she find refuge beneath the shadow of your wings, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Oh God, you are her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Brenda did not have a formal religion, but she was about as spiritual a person as you will ever encounter and have be a part of your life. Heidi told me something the other day that makes me think that somewhere back there, the Jewish soul that I always thought that she had may in fact have been true, because her mother's maiden name was Kaufman, Kaufman. So it is in recognition that we mourn her But like Brenda, we trust in God. The female one, not the male one, according to Brenda. She was perfect. God, not Brenda. So, as a congregation, honoring her memory and thanking God for her life, please join me. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei Rabbi, bi'olma divarach hiru'utei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevorach leolam ulolmei maya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit nasei. V'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yoma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrama Yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Go your way, Brenda, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and may the glory of God receive your precious soul. And to this we all say, Amen. Heidi has asked me to share with you that in the Ashman multi-purpose room following the service, there'll be a little reception. Heidi, raise your hand so people sort of know who you are. I have to repeat, even though my eulogy is over, I have to repeat what an amazing daughter you have been these past few months. I know it wasn't easy. And all of us thank you for seeing that she was so well taken care of. Bruchim atem b'voachem, bruchim atem b'tzeitchem. Blessed were you as you came to give comfort to one another and to her family. May you be blessed now as you depart. And to this we say, Amen. This concludes the service.